Jane. I am back with a simple card, which is just as well because I seem to have forgotten the basics of using my Cameo. Thankfully, I don't have video of myself yesterday making this card because what a pickle I got into. But more about that as I go through making the card. Over at the 2Ps Refugees forum, we are hosting Cardtober. I'll link to the forum below. Every day in October, someone will share a card and challenge us to make our own versions. Everyone is welcome to join in, so come and have a look at what we're doing. I'm your Cardtober host for every Saturday this month. You'll find a link below to a zip file of templates for the card today, including a PSD for Photoshop, a JPG for printing as a sketch or just looking at as a picture if you want to follow it that way, and an SVG for Silhouette Studio. But you won't need the SVG because you'll be making your own after this video, won't you? As usual, my starting point was Pinterest, and it was this card that inspired me. I liked the hexagons with the white border and the different patterns, and that was my original intention. However, I did something smaller. This is the Photoshop version that I've just brought in here so we can look at it. And I decided to just do plain colours and print it on a background and cut the whole thing out. That's where I got into a mess because somehow I left all my cut lines around the hexagons, and so it cut each one out, and that really wasn't what I wanted. You can see from my physical version, as opposed to the digital, I did get away with it, but I'm hoping that as I show you what I did, I don't make the same mistake, and I remind you that if you want to leave them as just being printable hexagons, to turn off the cut lines. Let's make a start. I'm going to start with my card base. Now, I usually use A4 paper that I cut in half for my cards, which gives me a size that you know I usually use of 4.13 by 5.845, something like that. For this, I'm going to do one at the standard size that I see lots of card makers using, which is 4.25 by 5.5. So let's draw out our base first. I'm going to put Snap to Grid on and draw 4.25, 4.25 and 5.5. And I haven't got my cut line on, so I do want that cutting, so let's stick the red line on. Next we'll draw our hexagon, and it's this shape. Draw a regular polygon. I'm going to zoom in so we can see what we're doing, and click my regular polygon. And I'm just going to fill it with this yellow colour here, and I will put the cut line on for the moment. I've got Snap to Grid on still, which I don't know why, I always feel it helps when I'm drawing shapes. And I'm going to draw out, I don't know what sort of size I'm going to need, but we'll start with this sort of size, and I'm going to wiggle it around until it lines up flat at the bottom, like so. Now you can see in the middle we've got a slider and a little number that says 5. Now when I let go in a moment, the number will disappear behind my circle of rotation marker. That's alright, and I just want to click this until I get to 6. And you can just see I've got a 6 there. Well, we can see because you can count the sides. And that's my basic hexagon shape. Now let's zoom out again so we can, I could just do fit to window, that's quicker. And now we can line up our shapes and then resize them once we've got them in the sort of area that we want them. To duplicate them, I'm going to hold my Alt key and click and drag. Now you can see I'm having trouble lining them up with the spacing that I want because I've still got Snap to Grid on. So I'm going to eyeball this and turn Snap to Grid off. Zoom in a little so we've got a bit more control, and then just have a guess at what sort of spacing. Now I know I put a thicker black line round the colours, so I'm going to leave perhaps a little more spacing than is necessary with just this very thin line. And I'm going to hold my Alt key and drag again and line the next one up, and same again. And of course when you're making your own, you can take a little bit longer to get your spacing exactly right. You get better at this the more practice you have. You get an idea of what spacing looks like. You can see I'm off up the top here now, but I've still got one more that I know I want to put in. So we'll put that in, like so. I'm going to select all of them by holding my Shift key and clicking. I can group them together quickly to keep them together. And now I can resize to fit my card. So I have one off the bottom, and I'm still haven't got one from that top, so let's pull it down a little bit further, about that much. Move it across a little bit. That's probably about right, that probably would do. Yeah, there we go. So I've got all my hexagons. I'm going to ungroup, and I'm going to hold my Alt key and copy one with its cut line and keep it off to the side. If you're going to be cutting all of your hexagons to raise up onto a card base or to stick down, however you like, then you're going to leave your cut lines on. I know I'm going to be doing black outlines and not cutting all of them, so I'm going to select them all again. I should have just left them selected, but never mind. I want a black line, and let's make this 2 points, and they are all ready now just for colours. And I'm not going to spend ages picking the colours, I'm just going to go for the basic orange. We'll pick a green. Oh, I don't like that green quite so much. Let's go for that green. Use the advanced options if you're not quite liking what you see. That will do. And this one we'll make turquoise. Have we got a nice turquoise? Just make that a little bit darker. And this one is going to be black because it's going to have trick or treat. This one I'll make purple. And then to repeat these colours so you get them exactly the same, if you have the eyedropper tool, you can use that and pick up the colour that way. If you don't, click on the colour of the shape that you've got. In the advanced options, highlight this hex code for the quickest. Press Ctrl and C. Click the shape that you want to change the colour. Highlight. Press Ctrl and V to paste the hex code, and then press Enter, and you'll get exactly the same colour as you've got at the bottom. The other thing you can do is, I think you might have this one, transfer properties of a shape to a selected shape. So select the shape, click the dropper, choose the orange, and you can do it that way. So there's 3 ways to make sure you get the same colours on all of your shapes. I'm not going to worry about making sure that my edge here lines up with this extra hexagon hanging over the edge, because I'm not going to be cutting one to fit. I'm going to be cutting the whole of the base out, so it will cut across there anyway. But if I want to make sure that I'm not taking up extra space or printing things that I don't need, I can use my eraser to just take off some of this excess and just leave it popping past there. And then do the same with this one at the bottom, just to, well, not be printing stuff that I don't need. And I can get rid of that piece. Let's do the lettering next, the text, before we do the shapes. You can use any fonts, of course. I'm using a set called KLBeaches and Cobwebs. I'll try and find them and link below. I got them in a bundle from the Hungry JPEG, so they didn't cost me very much, and I really like them. But you can use any fonts that you can find, of course. We'll start with 24 points. I think that's probably going to be too big, but it will do for now. I don't want my text cutting at all, so let's turn the red line off, and I'm going to do the trick or treat first here. So we need white for that so that it shows up, and we'll centre the text, and we better get our text tool. Put capitals on, trick or treat, question mark. Click out, and then I can just slide it into the middle. So it's much too big at the moment, so let's try 18. Oop, I didn't mean to move the hexagon. It's about right in size, but to make it a little bit easier to read, let's increase our character spacing and also our line spacing. Always makes things a little bit easier to read if there's some spacing between the letters and the lines. There we go, that will do nicely. Now we'll do Happy Halloween. Now Happy is in the same font as Trick or Treat, but we want it in black this time. So let's click black. And we'll just put it here for the moment. And I'm going to align it left. I don't want it centered. So let's just click left. Don't know if it will make much difference at the moment, but I like to keep things in order. And then I'm using KLCobwebs for the Halloween, and we'll keep it at 24 again, although I'll probably want it a little bit bigger. And we'll make it left again, and Halloween. So yeah, so that wants to be a bit bigger, doesn't it? So let's try, we're on 24, 36. It's a little bit too big. I could move all the, no, let's just make this a bit smaller. Let's try 33. And we'll put a bit of character spacing in, just a touch. And I think that's perfect, that will do nicely. But I might move it up a little. Yeah, about there. And Happy, I think, is also alright, so let's just line that up. Do it by eye. and I might just put a little bit of character spacing in there as well. Okay, so that's our basic card done already. Now, to add a bit of interest, I decided to print and cut the trick or treat hexagon separately so that I could pop it up on some foam. So I'm going to pull this one, well, not pull it out, I'm going to select it first by clicking on the lettering, holding the shift and clicking the hexagon as well. And I'm going to duplicate and bring it out. I'm leaving that one there for now so that I know where it goes and I can sort out all my other shapes in a moment. When I'm printing and cutting, as far as I possibly can, I always have a little bit extra. Professionally it's called bleed. In other words, you don't put your colour straight up to your cut line, you come just a little bit past so that you always get a perfect edge. Now I know this here is my actual size for cutting around this shape, so I need my offset on this one. So let's click it and do an offset. Well, actually let's duplicate it so we always keep that one there. Move it over here. Let's find our offset tool and do offset. Don't need a big one, just a little one to put an extra bit of black around our hexagon so that we get a good finish to it when it prints and cuts. And that will do. I'm going to fill it with black and I'm going to take the cut line away from the offset. This yellow in the middle is the one that we want to cut. So this time I'm going to come out, click the yellow and take the fill off. I don't need it filled with yellow. I'm going to leave the line, and if I use my mouse and draw around this so we can zoom in and see, I've got my cut line just inside the black there. And rather than use that one, I can just pick up my lettering and bring it down here. And now it's disappearing behind there, so let's click it and do bring to front. That's this one here, bring to front. And I can put my lettering here. And then I can group those together, and I know that I can set my red lines to cut because I'll be checking my black lines that they don't cut, and I can get rid of that now. So that's my single hexagon done. Now I could still print this if I want to, but I'll probably remove it, but I'm going to put that up there ready. All I need now is whatever decorations I'm going to put on the front, and I'm going to whip through that relatively quickly. I've got them all saved in a file here. We've got a cat, a bat and a ghost. So let's do the bat. Well, let's open them all actually. The cat and the ghost. We're going to trace. I'm going to leave it really big so you can see it. It's not a true black, it's a sort of an off browny black, so we're going to be altering that. So first of all I'm going to do trace, and I'll just take it up to 50 something. I'm going to do outline and I'm going to click trace. And I'm going to just move this out of the way, click on this and fill it with black. And now I've got my bat. Now on my card, well, on my Photoshop version I left the feet on. In the one that I did for print and cut I took the feet off, but you can do whichever you like, it all depends. Once it's small the feet might be a bit fiddly because this gap will be a lot smaller. So we could take the feet off now, so that's what I will do. and I'll just use the eraser and chop off its feet. Sorry, Mr. Bat. Sorry. You'll be alright. They're not really missing. There we go. Now we're going to need to, well, it probably ought to have a bit of white in it. No, it won't. We can, ooh, right, there's something. See, look, I haven't realised. We need to group that together. Let's do undo, and let's, well, I'll tell you what we should do. Let's let now modify. And if we do make compound path, there we go. Got it. Now size, so let's cut that, go back to our card, paste and resize by holding the shift key to keep it in proportion, and let's take it down to the size that we want. So that will do, and of course now I need to put the white around it, so let's zoom in. Let's just move it somewhere up here and an offset. So we need an offset and 0.45. Don't want too much white, but I want enough. Now you'll see we've got some extra little bits in here that we're going to have to get rid of. So we'll click apply. We'll click fill with white, okay. We'll move our bat out of the way and then release so that we can get rid of these extra pieces that we don't want. And we can do that, just simply move the big shape out of the way and get rid of those. And then we can put this one back together and use the centre the shape together there, and oh no, before I ungroup, let's take the cut line away from the actual bat. We don't want it cutting, we only want the offset cutting. See, this is the things you have to remember, and we'll centre that again and group. And there's the bat. Okie dokie. Now you do exactly the same with the cat, which is here. And again, he's not truly black. So let's, where's my trace window? There we go. Forgotten where my trace window is. Okay, select, trace, outline, and trace, move the cat, select, fill with black. We need our modify and our offset windows open because we're going to be using both. So we want to make that a compound path so it's all together. Cut, paste and resize by holding the shift key. That'll do. So that's, oops, that's the sort of size. So we'll move him over here, zoom in so we can see him, and do our offset again. Now remember, the cat did have a white border at one stage, which I think I've got rid of by doing the trace. So we should be all right to still do 0.45. Got an extra little bit in there that I found did get chopped up a bit when I was printing and cutting. So we could take that out and just leave it as one piece, or you can leave it in. It's entirely up to you. fill with white. Let's take our cat out for the moment and remember to take his cut line off, and let's release. And I want to get rid of these two for the eyes, but I'm going to leave the little tiny one there, and then we can put this back, center, group, and put our cat in place, sort of there. Now in the original I've got looking more at the lettering, the Happy Halloween, so let's move Happy Halloween up a little. There we go. The ghost is a little more problematical because it's got this white here and the black. When I trace, the black will show up immediately, but this orangey colour will take a little bit more work. Let's move it here and do select trace. You can see immediately we get the eyes, but we're not getting the outline. So we can try increasing the threshold and see when we start to get, oh, and we get the full outline there. So I'm going to do that one first. So let's do trace, and it's going to take out the arm there, which will be quite handy. So let's do trace. Okay, and then I'm going to do select trace area again, and I'm just going to go around the eyes. And click trace. Now let's move this. So you can see I've got all the elements of my ghost here, but I'm not going to want it cutting out this arm. So if we go to release, I can change this to fill it with white, the arm, and take the cut line off. So I'll do that and fill it with white. I can click the body and make it black, and I can click the eyes and make them white, and also take off the cut line for the eyes. And now I've got my ghost, and I can group, well, yes, we'll group that together, and we'll take it off into our card and paste it, and then let's do our resize, and oh, that's probably about right. I might just make it just a touch bigger. There we go. Let's put it here. So now I want to do my offset as before. And we'll just zoom in so we can see. Offset. .45. Apply and fill with white. Now, just need to check. Oh, it's good. It's all right because it's a small offset. We haven't got any extras in there, so that's okay. So let's center that and group, and then put our ghost in place. There we go. Close some of these panels that we don't need now, and that's our card done. All you need to do now is set up your page for print and cut. So I know I want that hexagon, I know I want the bat and the cat and the ghost. I'm going to do this whole piece as one. I'm not going to do all the separate colours. You could leave the black with the lettering here and still print it, but if you want to save ink, you can take that out because you know where that one's going to fit, and then group everything together so that you can move it around, and then fit it to your page to make the best of your card. Now I think I did mine with some other elements, so there we go. And in the send window you'll see all this, it will come up and it'll look awful when you're in simple. So go into line and have a look where you can see cut lines. Now I can see here on my ghost look, I seem to have got two, which is not what I want. So I need to go back and alter that. So let's do that before we go any further. Ungroup and go. So I must have my cut line, yes, still around the black. I thought I'd taken it off, but I hadn't. And let's group that back together. Fit to window and send. And I don't want anything selected. So here we've got our options. We don't want black lines cutting at all. We only want red. So I've got my single card base, my hexagon, my cat, my ghost and my bat. And I don't think we've got any extra lines anywhere. And then here you'd set your materials and which blade you're using. And that's all there is to it. A simple Halloween card. Let's have a final look at my finished print and cut card. The colours are a bit different because I didn't choose exactly the same ones in the demonstration I've just shown you. I've got a little extra piece that I made at the side there just to make the most of using up the space on my card, and I think it turned out all right. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you again soon.